Mr. President, thank you. This year, 2025, this year marks 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. As we should reflect on this conflict's history and the impact it had on our nation, we should pause to recognize the service and sacrifice of the brave Americans who went halfway around the world in defense of democracy and remember those who never made the trip home. From 1955 to 1975, more than 10 million members of the United States Armed Forces fought to support the cause of freedom in South Vietnam. Throughout the conflict, 58,281 of those service members lost their lives. More than 300,000 were wounded, and an additional 1,545 service members are still missing and unaccounted for. Here in our nation's capital, as we know, there's a memorial dedicated to those who served in Vietnam, a wall with the name of every American soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice during their service. I was there last week with an honor flight of Kansans who came to pay their respects and to remember their own service. The names of 626 Kansans are on that wall, each a son, a brother, a spouse, a friend, individuals who did not make it home. In Kansas, many communities have set up memorials to recognize their hometown heroes and hundreds of Kansans who died serving in the Vietnam War. From the Rooks County Memorial at the local courthouse in my home county to the Vietnam Wall in Pittsburgh State campus in the eastern part of our state, Kansans have made it their mission to never forget those who've served. I want to recognize especially two Kansans, Marine Corps Sergeant Timmy Miller and Army Private First Class Charles Atchison, two young men who grew up near my hometown in Rooks County, Kansas, and whose names are forever etched on that wall. At the young ages of 21 and 20, Timmy and Charles answered the call to serve and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedom. Their names and every name that appears on the wall represents a life that was lost, a family that was forever changed, and a story that should never, never be forgotten. As we now approach Veterans Day, we are reminded of our nation's commitment to honor those who have served in the nation's armed forces and to make certain that their legacy is never forgotten. In 1970s, when I was a high school student, in 1972, if you graduated a year earlier than I, or graduated certainly 2 years earlier than I did, you served in Vietnam. By the circumstance of my birthday, I did not. But what I did see was Vietnam veterans not treated with dignity and respect, the dignity and respect that they deserved when they returned home from their service. Their service earned our nation's lasting gratitude, and we should strive to honor our nation's heroes and the sacrifices they made. I, as a 16-year-old kid, made a decision, a commitment to myself, that I was going to try to compensate for the poor behavior that was extended to those who did nothing less and a lot more than just serve their country. I made a commitment that I was always going to say thank you and that I respect you. I never envisioned being a member of Congress, and now as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, I recognize that our responsibilities are more than to say thank you or I respect you. It's to make certain that every veteran is respected and gratitude expressed, but more than that, to make certain that the services that they provided for our nation and the freedoms they fought for are recognized in what we do in keeping our promises that were made to them for their service. I have met many Vietnam War service members and veterans, and their stories remind me that service does not end when they hang up their uniform. We have an obligation to make certain that their well-being is the forefront of our efforts, and that the promises made are promises kept. In Kansas and across the country, our Vietnam veterans are still serving, leading local businesses, volunteering at the VA and other veteran service organizations, and assisting the next generation of veterans as they transition into life after service. These veterans continue to give back to their communities and the country they served. Again, with Veterans Day around the corner, we are also reminded of the importance of keeping those promises to our heroes, whether that means access to quality health care, support for mental health challenges, or recognition of the lasting damage exposure to Agent Orange has had on those who served, even after they return home. I've had the opportunity to work closely with the Vietnam Veterans of America, a veteran service organization that works to support and promote issues faced by veterans of Vietnam. Their advocacy has been critical in supporting veterans' issues and passing legislation that improves the lives of our veterans. In 2022, Congress passed the PACT Act, legislation that was years in the making to help improve care for our nation's veterans who were negatively impacted by toxic exposure during their service. Since that bill became law, the Department of Veterans Affairs has completed more than 6.4 million toxic exposure health screenings, processed more than 2.7 million PACT Act-related claims, and enrolled more than 700,000 veterans in health care. We've made progress, a great deal of progress, but there is still much more work to be done to care and honor our Vietnam veterans. I was able to learn firsthand from the Vietnam veterans that I saw at the wall last week about their service, their time in Vietnam, their time in the theater, their time at home, their return, their opportunity now to come pay respects to those who lost their lives during their service. We were able to see firsthand a memorial built to honor them and to those who served alongside them. I've told this story before. Before the World War II memorial was completed, I wandered up there and found the Kansas pillar and called my dad at home, a World War II veteran. I left a voicemail. I was lucky. My dad didn't pick up the phone, but I left him a voicemail in Plainville, Kansas, our hometown, where I said, "Dad, I'm at the World War II memorial. This memorial was built in your honor. And Dad, I want you to know that I respect you. I thank you for your service, and Dad, I love you." Walking back to my office on Capitol Hill, my cell phone rang. It was my dad who said, "Gerald, you left me a voicemail, but I couldn't understand it. Would you repeat it?" I no longer can repeat it to my own father. But today, I say what I said to my dad then. I say to those who served our nation in Vietnam, who served our country in that tumultuous period of time. I say it to them. Thank you. We respect your service, and we love you. These men are heroes. These women are heroes. And we will never forget them or their service. To all those who served in Vietnam, we respect you, we thank you for your service, we love you, and welcome home.